Well, let's get started. So I'm Larry Levinson. I had this crazy idea, Parth, 6 weeks ago, to have an educator track at this conference. So if this doesn't work out, just blame me. It's okay. But out of this crazy idea came a whole bunch of very willing people that wanted to participate today, and I hope you're all here for the entire ride because it'll be pretty fun. Every presentation is very different. I work with an organization called Circle Dynamics. Adam is a partner in crime with me there. And our mission is to train people to quickly build interpersonal connections that encourage trust and deeper conversation. And our approach, which you're going to hear more about in a few minutes, fosters authenticity, genuine listening, and compassionate support so that people, being adults or kids, can uncover possible solutions to the problems and find the relief that comes from sharing and connecting with others. And our simple approach to connection means using CLRS, which is be curious. We couldn't get the B to work, so it's just be curious, listen, respect, and support. And we're going to talk about each of those items as we go through the next hour together. And you'll definitely be learning some new tools here this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, to quickly connect, make new connections quickly. So with that, Adam, I'm going to toss it over to you and help us check in.
Sounds good. That's one way we're going to start by building connections is by doing what we call a check-in. And the check-in's really simple. Everyone gets to participate. We're going to start with giving your name, how you're feeling. And when we say feeling, it's not just I'm good, I'm okay, I'm mad, sad, glad, happy, nervous, excited. You can be as creative as you'd like with that. So name, feeling, and a question that we're going to answer this morning is what brought you to this training? So name, emotion, and what brought you to this training. And normally we do this when we're in a circle. And since we're in a rectangle, the way it's going to work is someone will check in. And when you finish checking in, you say, I'm in. And that just means you're in part of the circle. And then you get to pass it to someone else that hasn't gone yet. So it's a little trickier. You have to kind of remember who hasn't gone. And if someone makes a mistake you had gone, just correct them. So I'll model this with name, feeling, and what brought me to this training. I'll say I'm in, and I'm going to pass it to somebody. So my name is Adam Young. I'm feeling a little nervous because I haven't done one of these Zoom presentations in a while. But I'm also really excited what's going to come up today and get to know all of you. And of course, happy to work with my good friend and co-founder, Larry. What brought me to this training was, you heard it, Larry's crazy idea. And he said, hey, Adam, why don't we come and do this thing at Boys to Men USA, the summit? And it took a little push to get me to do it. But once we talked about our ideas, I said, yeah, this sounds great. And I was even more on board once we got our co-presenters to be a part of it. And with that, I am in. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it to David. David, if you could check in with name, how you're feeling, and what brought you to this training.
Thanks, Adam. David Leak, and I'm feeling alert and excited, and a little bit of FOMO. And what brought me here is I've been on this path for 3 years with a group of kind of oscillating between 5 and 10 men and women in Sonoma County to start an organization like Boys to Men. We got a lot of mentorship from them. We're called Jam Circles, Journeyers and Mentors. And I'm on the board, and I've been doing a lot of mentor training over the years, and I'm here to bring some stuff back to our people. So I'm glad to be here. And with that, I'll pass that I'm in, and I'll pass over to, is it Gavin?
Thank you, David. My name is Gavin. I'm tuning in from Phoenix. I'm feeling also a little FOMO, a little frustration from earlier this morning. Just, kind of how my morning went and what I've been dealing with, and with my roommate, stuff outside of this circle that I'm going to leave there. And what brought me here, the educator track looked a little more in alignment with what I'm here to do through Boys and Men, and what brought me to Boys to Men. So I was in the other group and I switched over just real quick to this track, and I think it is more useful for where I want to take the information that I'm gathering. And with that, I'm in, and I'll pass it to Steve Anderson.
Right. Thanks, Gavin. Steve Anderson. I'm feeling excited. I'm also feeling a lot of love. I came to marriage late in life, so I haven't been married that long, and my wife's being super supportive as this weekend's going on. And so to be doing a Boys to Men event and being supported this way, which is new to me, and it's just so I'm grateful. What brought me here is I still feel imposter syndrome, and I've led weekends. And it's just damn it, Steve. But I feel that, and so just to be here, get some more strategies, both to learn new stuff and also remind myself that, hey, it's not my first rodeo, so to be here, learn what's new, and I know there's other stuff out there, and so I'm always trying to, if there's something out there, I'm going to look for it, because boys are different, men are different, and the more strategies I have, the more confident I'm going to feel and the better I can do. So that's what I'm looking for, new strategies. And I'll pass this to David.
Already went.
I'm sorry, David. Okay. It's on the screen. Joseph? Yeah, Joseph. Sorry, David.
Yeah. Thanks. My name's Joe. I'm a Boys to Men mentor in San Diego. I'm feeling totally blessed after the last couple of days of trying to soak up all the different topics and speakers and chat rooms and everything. So it's been fantastic. I also switched over to this track today because the topic CLRS I've heard of, and I just need to learn more about it. The whole topic is something I need to improve on, so I'm looking forward to everything today. And I'm in with that. And who's left? Raise your hand here.
Rhonda's left.
All right, Rhonda.
And Parth.
And Parth. I'll pass it to Parth, if that's okay. So Rhonda, I'm in. I am feeling a gamut of feelings today. I am excited, nervous, and also humbled. And I am here for more than one reason. Mr. Levinson did let me know that this was an opportunity to share with fellow educators. Oh my gosh, my camera is off. How rude. To share with other educators. And also, I am a mom of a boy, a 13-year-old boy. So what I'm gleaning here today is applicable to my life, and I'm excited to learn and listen and hear. And with that said, I will pass it on to Parth.
Cool. Thank you. What brought me here? Well, in addition to, of course, or let me answer it this way. What inspired me to help put this together is, I think, the possibility of knowledge sharing. There's so many tools and resources that are out there, and it's sometimes I get so myopic in my own silo that it's I'm spending so much time putting out fires, but then when I actually am around other people who are putting out fires at an equal level and are playing at that same level, it allows me to feel okay, I'm not alone. And there's a sense of camaraderie, and then also to learn and grow. And in terms of a feeling word, I am feeling surprisingly calm. So that's my feeling right now. And with that, I'm in. Thank you. Who else hasn't gone yet? So should I pass it back to you, Larry?
Larry, you're on mute.
It'll work better now, huh? I'm Larry. I'm practicing muting and unmuting. And I'm feeling really excited and also a little bit nervous as I mute and unmute, or not. And what brought me here today, what was kind of the genesis of this whole thing, was this idea that while it's really important to talk about how teenagers are growing and the challenges that they face today, it's also important to talk about how can we be better mentors. And Adam and I have been participants in Boys to Men for many, many years, and have led weekends and et cetera, and came upon this idea of CLRS as maybe a tool that can be really useful out in the world, not just in a I don't want to say closed group, but not like in a tight-knit group like Boys to Men. It can be used anywhere. So that's what we want to show you today. I'm really excited about that part of it. And with that, I am in. So thank you all so much for being here.
Oh, hang on. We got one more late joiner, Larry. So
Jeff Mansfield. Hello, my
Jeff,
friend.
Check in. Hi, Jeff. We're doing a quick check-in here to start off the session, and you're going to be up. The check-in is your name, how you're feeling, and what brought you to this training. So welcome, Jeff. Would you like to check in?
Sure. My name is Jeff Mansfield from Bloomington, Indiana. Right now I'm feeling a little frazzled, rushed to get down here on the Zoom. I apologize for being late. And I'm feeling sad. I had some really tough times with family this morning. And what brought me here is the topic looked interesting to me. I'm always looking for more ways, more tools to have to connect, and I'm interested in hearing more about it. And with that, I'm in.
Thank you.
Great,
Jeff.
thank you very much.
So, Larry, do you want to talk real quick about the working in rectangles piece?
Yeah. I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm assuming that for most of us, working in these rectangles is not something that we do every day, but something that we're getting more and more familiar with. And I know for myself, this is a different gig than sitting together in a circle and talking really eyeball to eyeball. I mean, this is kind of eyeball to eyeball, but kind of not. And the model for me is like, we could have a conversation over the phone and that'd be one kind of connection. Or we could have a conversation here on Zoom and that really brings a whole different set of elements or opportunities to our conversation. Or we could be face to face, all in one room, and that's again a whole nother set of possibilities and opportunities for how we work together. So in my own work, I'm really sensitive to that. And I know that in Zoom, I need to reach out more. I need to lean in more. I need to take whatever emotion I've got and express that maybe a little more fully in my face. I have to learn to look at the camera. I want to see all your faces, but yeah, I got to look at the camera. And so I appreciate the work that each of us will be doing in those regards as we continue to work in this medium that isn't maybe as user-friendly as sitting together in the room. So thank you for that. Was there something else you wanted me to cover, Adam?
No, I think you covered all of that. Thanks very much. Let's welcome Bruce. Hi, Bruce. Would you like to join our meeting by checking in? You can say your name, how you're feeling, and what brought you to the training.
Bruce Crenshaw, checking in. I'm feeling a lot better today. Had a bad bike crash, broke 10 bones, so I'm physically recovering from that. So I'm a school counselor, and I run boys to men groups at my school. I actually was able to expand it to other schools when I had a district level job. Now I'm back to the original school that started the first in-school groups, and we actually were able to start an in-person group 3 weeks ago. So we sit outside and distance ourselves. And like you were saying, Larry, it's hard for me to embrace this. But I know we're kind of stuck with it. So we've yet to actually start the online group at school. We offered the boys both, and it's kind of just getting off the ground. We're only getting about 5 to 7 boys showing up. I want to hopefully get 20 to show up every Monday. But anyway, I'll stop talking. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with what we're doing. Oh, and I'll just briefly say, like last year, we had the group. We had about 40 boys involved when school got shut down, and we were pulling teeth to get 5 boys to show up to do this. And that was frustrating because that's the time of the year when you really see the fruits of your labor come. When you've already made the connections with the boys, and then they start realizing what this is about, and then they realize what they can get out of it, and then boom, school gets shut down. So anyway, I think it's great that we're doing what we can to keep the boys engaged. And yeah, I'd like to hear other people's success or failure stories to see what we can learn together.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. So I'm noticing for myself that as we do these introductions, our own introductions, that my tension is going away. That I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm here with friends. I can relax a little bit. So maybe you're experiencing that too. For me, that's always part of a check-in. It's like, it goes from, who are these people? Or in the case of a group that I'm familiar with, who are these people today? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, good. Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I think this is probably a good segue into talking about CLRS. And so, Larry, if you want to go ahead and put our slideshow up, I guess, didn't we figure out how to do that here at the beginning? So let's talk a little bit about what CLRS is. Be curious, listen, respect, and support. And there's Larry's there we are. So that's our acronym that we're going to be working with today. And CLRS kind of came out of the work that we were doing with the boys in our Boys to Men circles here in Prescott. And while we were happy with the model that we were using, we thought that for a wider audience, for adults, for educators, for everyone, that this model of CLRS might be a clearer way of getting people to understand what exactly we do when we're working on this kind of intensive listening and support process. So basically, CLRS is these 4 pieces, and the first is to be curious. And when we say curious, we simply mean to give up knowing and feeling like I know what the person I'm listening to is going through. I know what their situation is, and so being curious means you're giving up that idea that you know what's going on. And the way that you can show your curiosity is by asking open-ended questions as opposed to closed-ended questions. So a lot of questions that will begin with WH, the who, what, where, why, when, how, questions as opposed to ones that could be answered with a simple yes or no. So that's the idea of being curious. And you don't need to take all this in because there's a handout that you'll be able to print from a URL that we'll give you in just a second here. So let's move on to the next piece of CLRS, which is listening. And I'm sure you all are very good listeners. What we're going to define listening for our purposes on this session is to listen without an agenda. So there's no specific endpoint. If people aren't talking, we don't feel the need to fill in the spaces in those conversations. If they're silent, hey, that's part of listening as well. So we'll demonstrate that in a bit as well. But the idea of listening without an agenda, we're not trying to reach a goal or a specific endpoint. All right, so next up then is to respect. And what we're looking at here is this idea that we're going to withhold judgment on the choices or emotions that someone might be expressing. Okay, so withholding judgment on whatever their choices are. We may feel like the choice that person made was completely unreasonable or stupid or I can't believe they did that. Or you're super excited about whatever they did. You want to give your judgment on, hey, that was really smart what you did. That was awesome what you did. So we're withholding any judgment on those choices. Also withholding any judgment on whatever emotion that someone might be expressing. Some of you checked in, maybe feeling nervous or feeling a little rattled or whatever, and that's fine. That idea that we're not going to give any judgment on the emotion. The emotion is the emotion. It's all welcome. And part of that respect also then is not giving our opinion, especially when it's not asked for. So that's all the components then that we're defining as a showing of respect. And last up then would be support. And this one's really simple. Let them figure it out. I don't need to tell somebody what to do. I don't need to solve whatever their problem is, even because maybe there isn't a problem. Let them figure it out. Give them the support they need to figure it out, to find their pathway forward and determine what their best choice is, rather than me trying to figure out what that is and imposing my judgment on that. So that's CLRS in a nutshell. Be curious, listen, respect, and support. Now, the corollary to CLRS is what we don't want you to do, which is FRAP. And FRAP is really simple: fix, rescue, advise, and project. So we want to keep these really simple, CLRS and FRAP. I don't think we need to go into great detail. Again, there's more on the handout, and you can see the link below. If you want to click on that, you can get the our handout, which has expanded definitions. But fixing is fixing. Hey, I see someone talking about something. I see a problem there. I'm going to try to fix it for them. Rescuing is putting on that Superman cape. Oh my goodness, I need to come in there and just rescue them. That sounds like a horrible situation. I'm just going to go in and be the superhero. Advise, obviously this is the giving advice piece, something that I have definitely struggled with, particularly with my 17-year-old daughter. It's, hey, I've been there, done that, and I can give you some great advice, but I'm not. And finally is the idea of projecting. And, they're, putting my stuff on them, putting whatever issues I have, whatever they're talking about, back upon them, because I'm not comfortable with it or whatever. So we want to avoid projecting. So that's it in a nutshell: CLRS and FRAP. If you can remember those acronyms in your head when you're talking with somebody, I think you'll find a lot of value in that. And while you're talking to someone, if you can just say, oh, be something particularly valuable for you. So that's it. Pretty simple. Again, you can look at the handout, has some good definitions on our examples. But I think really the best way to understand CLRS then is to actually practice that. And so that's what we're going to be working on next, and give you a real opportunity to dig in deep to what we mean by that. And so, Larry, do we want to just jump right into the next activity, or do you want to talk a little bit more about CLRS and FRAP?
Well, are there any questions about CLRS or FRAP? Not at the moment? Okay, great. So up his sleeve for this morning. I'll be the listener, and in this case, all of you can be the observers, and we're going to ask you afterwards some questions about what you observed. But I think it's best just to go ahead and get started in this exercise, and you'll kind of see how it evolves. So, Adam, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good afternoon. I notice it's just past noon here in Arizona. So good afternoon. How are you today, Adam?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks.
Huh? What's going on?
What's going on is I'm really tired of COVID. I've been noticing like more and more every day. I'm feeling extreme COVID fatigue. I'm so done with it. I'm so done with not being able to go places and see people, eat in a restaurant. In particular, I'm really sad about not being able to be with my students. I just started a new teaching job about 6 weeks ago, and I've really gotten to know my students, my learners. And we just closed school. We shut down and went to all virtual about a week ago. So it's been a week since I haven't been in the classroom with my kids, and I'm really missing them. Really just done with COVID.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of been a long ride, hasn't it?
Way too long. When we went into this, I thought there's just no possible way it could last this long. I mean, I thought, yeah, a couple months, maybe things will start getting better, and just haven't. Things have only gotten worse, it seems.
So I'm curious, how do you respond to that, given you've got work to do with children? How do you do that work with this background of I'm so done with this whole thing?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm being like a cheerleader. I'm trying to put the best face on things for the kids because I don't want them to be freaking out. I don't want them to feel like the adults don't know what they're doing, or that this is going to impact them like really negatively. So part of it is being, cheerful, and sometimes I don't necessarily feel cheerful at all about this. On the other hand, I don't want to be just all doom and gloom, because there is an end, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But in the meantime, it's really hurting them. When they're not in class, I work with kids who are all on probation. They have specific requirements from their, as a condition of their probation is to be in school for 20 hours a week minimum, online on their computers. And when they're in the classroom with us working on their things, I can keep an eye on them. I can encourage them. I can keep them going. When they want to give up, we can work on that. But when they're in their house by themselves, I have no idea what they're doing. I mean, I can see if they're online or not, and I text them or call them, hey, yeah, but it's just not the same, it's really, I really feel disconnected from them. Even if I'm texting is this, that's not the same. You can be on the phone, and they don't tend to want to do anything like Zoom or FaceTime. So I don't.
All right, so thanks, Adam. I want to stop the demo here, and I want to hear from you observers. What did you observe? So specifically, did you observe any curiosity? Did you observe me projecting any of my stuff onto him? What did you observe? And anyone can go.
So yeah, you listened to him. You let him tell the story, and then you asked him, how do you cope with that? So that using the how-to question is kind of putting it back on, okay, so how are you dealing with this? What are you doing? So yeah, that didn't sound like there was any trying to fix it or trying to find solutions, but just allowing him to explain and talk his way through it.
He did talk his way through it. Thanks, Bruce. What else did you guys observe, or gal?
I didn't hear you projecting anything. You were listening the whole time.
How do you know? How do you know I was listening the whole time?
You weren't saying anything while he was talking, and you were looking at the monitor. I'm assuming that you were looking at the screen and looking at him.
Before you asked the how-to question, you kind of confirmed how you felt similar about COVID, and then just went into the how-to instead of like staying on that path. You confirmed you heard him, and then you asked like directly.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Yeah, just on that, I thought it was really, you said it's been a long haul, right? You didn't even ask a question. You just kind of, in your own way, said, yep, I've got some same experience. And then Adam kept going from that. So that was a great, without even asking a question, but just an acknowledgement. And he had more to say and he said it.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
So how did it feel, Adam? I mean, you're talking about real stuff. So
Yeah. This is all real. Larry and I didn't rehearse it. He was honest when he said, "I don't know what I was going to talk about." I can do a more kind of scenario-based approach, but with what's going on with all of us, especially with me right now with COVID, that was all genuine. I felt, and I've worked with Larry so much, maybe that's not the universal experience, but I really felt listened to. I really felt that he was focusing on what I had to say, giving me the space to talk. I don't know if you noticed, sometimes he didn't fill in any spaces for me. He just let me go on. I really felt like he was there with me the whole time.
So a little trick that I used, if you haven't used this trick, you might want to adopt this one. I'm looking at everybody strictly in gallery view, so I see 9 squares. And if I click speaker view and then back to gallery view, whoever's speaking comes top and middle. And my camera is right above Adam's head. So it's easy to look at Adam's picture. I can see the rest of you kind of off to the side, but I can look directly at Adam's picture and know that from his experience, I'm looking at him. So a little tip about rectangles there. Okay, so Parth, don't do it yet, but are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So Parth's going to go through the final moments of putting us into circles or small groups. There's going to be groups of 3. So someone's the speaker, that was the role Adam had. Someone's the listener, that's the role I had. And someone's the observer. And we're going to give you about 15 minutes so you have a chance for everybody to play each role. So please just keep it moving. You notice how I cut Adam off at one point because I wanted to move on. That's okay. We're not here to resolve whatever each of us have personally going on right now. So this is a practice session on listening without judgment, not frapping, and observing what's going on. Okay? So again, there's a speaker, there's a listener, and there's the observer. And you just keep switching around until everybody's had each role. We'll come back here out of the breakout rooms in 15 minutes. Parth, you can work your magic.
Wonderful. Larry, can you make me the full host?
Oh, I
It
can.
seems so. That's another thing with rectangles is only the full host can create breakout rooms. She must
All
have.
right. Learning as we go.
Hey, Larry. So just to summarize again, so the speaker is the person is obviously the person who's talking, and the listener then is the person who's really focusing and listening, using clears and not frapping. What does the observer do exactly?
The observer really wants to focus on, was the listener listening? Was he curious or she curious? Did they listen without judgment? Or was there any frapping? Those are kind of key things to watch for. So curious, without judgment, frapping.
Do we need a timekeeper? You guys keep.
Say what, David? Oh,
Do we
okay.
need a timekeeper? Or are you guys keeping time?
No, we're not going to keep time. We're going to let you keep time in your group. Just kind of work it out so it gets around to everybody. And if it doesn't, that's okay.
It's about 4.
That's a good job actually for the observer, since they're observing the conversation. They can kind of keep track and cut it off when necessary.
About 4 minutes each, about or what?
And
It'll be, what did we say, Adam? 3 to 4 minutes each? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, Parth, do your magic, man. We'll see you back here in 15 minutes. All right. So, little feedback, little reflection. How was that for you? What did you see working? What wasn't working? What feelings came up or didn't come up?
Ron, I'm turning my camera off because I'm making lunch, but I had the pleasure of being in the room with Adam. It was just the two of us. But what worked was I felt like the entire time he engaged in listening and being clear that he was partnering with me. I didn't feel alone with this with him as a stranger, with me sharing. It felt very comfortable and natural. It was really good. Within less than 5 minutes, I came to a resolution to something that I hadn't sat and thought about making different. But just having that little bit of time with him, I came to a resolution on something that needs to be attended to that I hadn't even made time to attend to yet.
Great. Thanks. Who else?
I think Steve had something to say.
Yeah, when I came into Boys to Men, it was Lamb, Listen, Admire. I always forget the second A, Model, and Bless. And I like clears. I think teaching it to somebody, it's a little bit more, straightforward. So I think it's a really comfortable thing to keep in my mind. So I like the process. And just for me too, I had in the back of my mind, okay, we have to do this in 5 minutes, which I didn't talk about in group, right? So there's a little clock watching going on for me, which is, not a great thing for listening, but that's something I did notice was on there, and something I should pay attention to in Zoom meetings. Right? But really like clears. I think that's it felt comfortable and not overwhelmed to keep that in mind while I'm while I'm listening.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I think Steve and I had the privilege of having Larry as our observer, so we could get his insight, because I think he really sees this. His perspective was appreciated, and the feedback. And I realize, it's good to practice. Sometimes I think, well, gee, I've been a counselor for 33 years. I know how to do this. But yeah, I know maybe I don't, or maybe I have a lot to learn, and I do. So, so Larry, I appreciate your feedback.
Thanks.
Gavin, David, either of you have anything you want to jump in there on?
I think that Adam definitely brought up some COVID frustrations. and just the emotions that's brought up for some of us. I appreciated how slow and methodical that we approached this, and the length of the interactions was really short, and I think that helped a lot for me with honing in on exactly where I can improve, because I feel like if it were lengthier, the observer would have had a lot of ground to cover, and with only 4 minutes, it was really good for me to look at those key things that came up in only 4 minutes. So that was cool.
Great, thanks, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, anything?
I thought we all did a really nice job at listening. I'm not talking about myself, but Gavin and David, one of the things that David was doing that I pointed out that I really appreciate is reflection. When somebody tells you something, to summarize it back at the end when you say something when they're finished. And in Gavin's case, it actually prompted Gavin to continue on with his with maybe more of what he wanted to say, but maybe wasn't going to. I felt I like that tool to show people that you're being respectful and you're listening, and also you're prompting them to bring some more out.
Yeah, great. Very important. That's an important tool. What was the difference for each of you in the emotional tone between being here in a group of 9, which admittedly is still a small group, to being in a much smaller group?
Much more intimate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Felt safer too.
Safer.
Yeah, I agree. Both of those.
So it's something you should consider, I posit, on any Zoom calls that you're on, because that's always been my experience also, that it's more, I feel more connection, more safety, more relationship in a very small group. 3 or 4 people for me. That's because I've tested it with different size groups. That's the comfort spot for me. You know, one-on-one, well, that may not be so comfortable again. Right. It's interesting. But as a tool in working in Zoom, that can be really helpful. Send people to breakout rooms, give them a simple assignment, and bring them back X number of minutes later. All right. Adam, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, Larry, do we want to talk a little bit more about, draw back a little bit here, look at the meta involved on the CLRS FRAP framework, and, whether that's something that our participants feel that could be useful to them going forward.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just interested in, and this came out of the conversation that Ron and I had. What do you think about this model of CLRS and FRAP? Do you feel like this is something, that you could use in your groups with students, if you have students, with mentees, with whoever? Could be your spouse, could be or at a business meeting. What do you think about this framework beyond what we're doing today?
Yeah, I think we can actually use it even with kids to teach them. This is it's not a secret what we're trying to do. So share it with them and say, hey, here's what our focus is going to be. And if they have that, then they could even call us out on, hey, you just tried to fix this or something, so I think that's what I jumped to just now, thinking, well, we've never really told the kids what we're doing or how we're doing it. Well, this is such a kind of simple, well thought out process. So I think I'd like to do that.
Yeah, especially with that kid that says, how can I do this with my dad?
Yeah.
Or similar. Yeah.
Have you done that, Larry? Have you done that? Do you use Hot Kids this? Okay.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. And then, I have the kid practice, if it's dad, if it's talking to dad, talking to mom, whoever it is they need to get sorted with, practice. What would that sound like? Oh, if you said that, what would your dad say back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to take another stab at it then? Okay, and let them practice a little bit. Not like, I just had the word and I lost it. Not like psychodrama, but just like, what would you say? How would you start that conversation? So that they have a starting place to move forward from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other thoughts on clears in life?
I also mentioned when Adam. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, we went at the same time. You're good.
Okay. I also mentioned when speaking with Adam how having clear and FRAP kind of sets the tone for expectancy, and that provides some comfort for people when engaging, to know that there's this universal practice, and that when I am with you, that this is what my experience is going to be. I think that promotes success oftentimes.
It's like almost a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That word doesn't quite fit, but it's the closest I can think of. Here's where we start. And yes, we're going to start here every time. Gavin?
I was just going to say, I felt the same about introducing clears and FRAP to the youth as a means of starting a conversation or a good way to respond to a parent. I remember a lot of times when I was a kid where I felt like I wanted to say something to my dad, but I didn't know what would get across. And if I would have ever had a conversation of, these tools, I could say something like, I feel like you're frapping right now. And then that could dive into, I guess, just a more comfortable conversation that's immediately addressing the issue of projection. And so just, I feel like the words would just bring consciousness directly into, into the dialogue between youth and parent, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I know when Adam and I first rolled this out, we did our first circle with clears. And it's pretty much the same work that we're doing today. We broke people out in small groups and we're practicing, and we get back together and we're going around the circle seeing what people's thoughts were as they reflected on that. And this one woman just busts out laughing. She says, I'm a frapper. I am a frapper. I can't say anything if it's not frapping.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I learned. It's like, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how adults are wired.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve?
So one question I have is, I know sometimes a boy will be saying something and then they don't recognize like how much they've accomplished. So I liked Lamb had that acknowledgement blessing part where, you pause and say, yeah, you're feeling all that and you still made it to school today. That is something. So how does this fit in with also, sometimes helping a boy recognize what they have done when they're not giving them enough credit for what they're doing?
Adam, you want to run with that, or you want me to? I kind of do it. Adam was pointing to this yesterday as we were talking. I kind of do it just in the conversation itself. So I'm trying to think of an instance here. So, you know, how could you, so we were talking, I was talking with some kids about how do they wake up in the morning? You know, mad, angry, happy, blah, blah. And one kid that really is very challenging said, I wake up every morning and wonder why I'm still here. I go, I got it. You wake up not very happy, right? Right. What could make you happy? And then I quickly changed it to what makes you happy? Because I was clear there were times when he was happy. And working from that base, letting him do the work, but me asking the questions, open-ended questions, he sorted out something he could do every morning so that he could take whatever he woke up into and convert that to happy. Now, do I think he's going to do it every morning? No. But do I think he has a new tool? Yes. And he was very excited about it. So here's my sense of it. It's way better in terms of working with teens if they make the discovery rather than we're saying, oh, you're awesome. Because that's just more shit that people say, and you know, you can't trust adults and whatever nonsense they've got going on about that. Let them discover.
And Larry, can I interrupt you? I mean, that's also not to say, though, Larry, that you won't acknowledge or, you know, and praise anyone in the circle when it's appropriate to do so, because you've seen something that, you know, really merited that. And I think what you're saying is that, you know, youth in particular, you know, their BS meter is pretty strong. So if they feel they're being praised just for nothing, it can kind of, you know, work against the relationship or the connection that you're building by being inauthentic with praise. So I think Larry brings up a good way of bringing that back to something that's more, again, focused on them rather than us. Because sometimes the praise is something I want to praise you, and then it becomes about me, not necessarily about the young man or the youth.
And to flip that around even just a little bit farther, the problem I have with the praise piece in that, because lots of boys men's group use it, is that makes it sound like every time that's got to be there. That's part of the process. Mm-hmm. I'm not at that place. Mm-hmm. I'm really okay with letting the kids hang with whatever they're taking away, and we can deal with it next week, as Bruce says. We can deal with it next week.
And Larry, that is a fantastic segue into the next piece, which is we got to check out.
Well, how about that? Yeah. Take it away.
Hey, I just want to say thank you to everyone for participating today. But unfortunately, our time's nearly at the end. And since we began with a check-in, of course, we have to end with our checkout. So the checkout will be name, how you're feeling, and what are you going to, what are you taking from here that you're going to apply in your life in any way you want? So name, how you're feeling, and how are you going to take away and apply this to your own life. And who would like to begin?
Real quick, Larry, can you make me a co-host when you get a moment? And then we'll spotlight the shares.
Can I do what?
Can you make me a co-host as on the Zoom side?
Sure. All these mechanical things need to happen.
Yeah, I was trying to do that, but I didn't have the power apparently.
The power.
That's the power.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Fox is stuck on me right now.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Parth. So, Parth, while you had the floor, go ahead. Kick us off here.
Sure. So, my name, Parth Savla. I'm feeling a bit more grounded than I did coming into this session. A lot of the butterflies have settled a bit. And what I'm taking away from this session, I think the is the power of curiosity. The be curious part. I'm realizing how many filters there are when I'm not curious. So the power of curiosity. And with that, I'm out. Thank you.
And you want to pass to someone else, Parth?
Sure, I'll pass it to Gavin.
So Gavin, I'm feeling also a lot more grounded and particularly confident. Confident in my ability to surrender. I feel that I discovered a little bit more in the power of allowing, just allowing things to happen and allowing people to go in the direction that they choose, allowing other people's will to play out and not imposing my own will. Feeling good about that. So with that, I am out, and I will pass it to Bruce.
Bruce, checking in with gratitude. I feel like I got to hear some wise people speak and share and give me some feedback, or just to learn a process that I'm definitely going to take with me, because I think this is really powerful and it's very simple in the way it's presented. So thanks. This was definitely very valuable. And I will pass to Steve.
So Steve Anderson, I too feel grounded and grateful. And I think one of the big things I'm taking from this is my job's to see the journey and not to offer shortcuts for the person on it. So with that, I'm out, and I'll pass it on to Jeff.
Thanks, Steve. Checking out, feeling definitely gratitude, and thinking about places where I want to apply this in my life. I think CLRS is something I try to do with my children, and I do it also. I think this is something that we learned in our training when we were trained a couple. It was in the workbook. I remember FRAP in there. I think it was CLRS also. Has it been in the workbook for a couple years?
No, I think you were trained in listen, accept, encourage, and FRAP.
Oh, right. Yes. And I try to do something similar with my kids, and I constantly fail at it because I have such this strong emotion, this strong desire to FRAP it. And because I have this like invested interest in my children, and I want them to succeed, and all sorts of stuff happens for me, and it gets in the way. And so I'm gonna keep on trying to do it, and trying to do it in a very thoughtful way. And with that, I'm out.
And you pass to?
Oh, passing to Rhonda.
I am feeling enlightened and encouraged because I work with so many adults. I feel like I can take this and use it, and actually listening to them, because they may feel unheard a lot right now. Our teachers may feel unheard. I think that is, did I answer all three? I'm feeling enlightened. I can use it with staff, and with that, I'm out. And I think I'm the last person to give this to.
Larry didn't check out.
Oh, Larry. How could I forget? Larry, I'm passing it to you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Larry, feeling much more centered, grounded, happy, and connected. It always amazes me how little time it really takes to connect with people I don't even know and have real conversations. So I'm appreciative of that. And I'm the last one, right? We haven't missed anybody? Oh, Adam hasn't gone. Oh, great. So I'll pass it to Adam and he can wrap it up.
Adam, feeling happy, really grateful for all the contributions that everyone made, and feeling really heard today, and I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, what I'm going to take away is that the model that we've set up today of CLRS and FRAP is something that really is universal, something that applies in every situation. There's always seems to be room for curiosity, listening, respect, and support. And if I can just remember to stop frapping, I'm going to be in a better place with my relationships and feel more connected with folks. Thank you, everybody.